Not Quite Right features discussions that are unfiltered and uncensored and may include themes that are inappropriate for younger listeners. Also, I swear a lot.
Something doesn't seem quite right.
Welcome to Not Quite Right. My name's Ed.
And I'm Amanda.
And welcome to the fifth and final Daredevil for the January 2026 Not Quite Right prize for Flash Fiction. Now, Daredevils are people who have signed up for the honour and privilege of having their story absolutely annihilated on the podcast.
Which is fun, isn't it?
It's fun for everyone involved except for the Daredevils. Only masochists need apply.
Which is every writer, let's be real. But some are masochists in private and some prefer their pain to be more public.
But for the rest of us sadists, we can watch from a distance, from a safe distance.
What's the safe word here on the Daredevil episodes? Please stop.
I only know unsafe words. So we will read out the story. We'll talk about the story, break it down, share our thoughts, and hopefully all learn something in the process, in addition to our schadenfreude from watching our poor Daredevil get annihilated.
And who is in the hot seat today?
In the devilishly hot seat is Marianna Saran.
First time Daredevil.
First time Daredevil, second time entrant.
Mm-hmm.
And Marianna has chosen well and chosen the winning team this round. Which team was that, Amanda?
Well, it depends how you look at it, because if you look at which team had the winner on it, then it's Team Amanda.
I don't think that's how it works, I think.
Well, you did ask me, which was a dumb
That
move.
was a bad move on my part. No, Marianna's chosen correctly and wisely, and she's chosen Team Ed, the winning team.
All right, well, what were your prompts this round?
And Team Ed prompts were the word quick, the action of planting something, and the kicker of having a character who is a flawed protagonist. So let's read the story, shall we?
All right, let's shall. And the story is called All in God's Plan by Marianna Saran. You're not my mum. There it is. The 4 words I never wanted to hear. The phrase that's been gnawing at me steadily for the past 14 years. I continue planting my rose. A thorn nicks me, drawing blood. It's an omen. I look up, smiling. She's expressionless, stone cold. I've never seen my bubbly, quick-witted sweetheart this way. Lucille, don't be ridiculous. Of course I am. I dust my hands of earthy remnants and stand to meet her gaze. Reaching deep into her pocket, Lucille retrieves a crumpled piece of paper, her eyes boring into me. I admire their green hue, her beautiful, long, auburn hair and flecked nose, none of which she's inherited from me. I note her usual rosy lips are grey. Unravelling the sheet, wrinkled letters spread to spell missing. It wins me. The photo of 2-year-old Lucille sits puckered on the page next to a computer-generated expectation of her appearance. Its accuracy is annoying. I've loved this little poppet since first wrapping my arms around her on that overcast day in June. It was down south, not a parent in sight. This helpless tiny tot abandoned in the middle of the road riding her tricycle. No helmet, no protection from the world's atrocities. Fate had it that I came along. It was all in God's plan. I open my mouth to protest. Lucille interjects before I can draw breath. Don't even think about lying. I've already called the police. I grab her hand, yanking her in, thrashing like an animal that's been given a hit. She evades capture. Baby, where's this coming from? My voice a gentle whisper. From the girls at school, Mum. Wait, can I even call you that? Well, that's right, you're not my fucking mum, are you? Language, young lady. Don't you fucking tell me what to do. Lucille's tone offends me. The girl facing me is suddenly unrecognisable. I guess blood really is thicker than water. Ungrateful little shit. 14 years of unconditionally loving this kid means nothing to her. Where's my real mum? The venom strikes quick and deep. Your real mum? I'm your real mum. The girls at school, they saw this online. She waves the evidence, slicing my face. When I rescued Lucille, the web wasn't for children. Now anyone can access the entangled lies forever swirling in the cloud. I thought moving interstate would leave the loose ends across the border. I was wrong. Honey, I hate you. Tears spill. I saved you. Your mother didn't care about you. She didn't deserve you. Lucille takes a loose brick from the pavement and hurls it at my head. Dancing lights pull into our driveway. Please understand, I love you. You'll always be my daughter. Lucille's eyes swell. Thank God she knows I love her. I'll never think of you again. The words fire like an assault rifle, leaving wounds beyond repair. 2 officers approach, cuffing me. Casey Allenby, you're under arrest for the abduction of Sally Montgomery.
Thank you for your story, Marianna. And Marianna has left us a voicemail, which we'll play now.
Hello, my name's Marianna Saran and I'm the author of All in God's Plan. The inspiration for this story has been drawn upon a lifetime as a journalist where good people do bad things and sometimes they convince themselves that those bad things are not so bad. I also hope that there was a twist in my story in that people assumed Lucille had perhaps been adopted, but at the end, obviously, we find out that she was in fact abducted.
So thank you, Marianna, for your story and for your message. I think we should just get straight into it.
Yeah, for sure.
And we will start with the title, which is All in God's Plan. And that is a phrase that appears kind of around the middle of the story and maybe hints potentially at the frame of mind, perhaps, of our protagonist here, our very flawed protagonist. And as a title, I think it's fine. I think it works. It does the job. I don't think religion is a major theme necessarily in the story, and so I would say that it didn't recall the story for me and it didn't like echo that central theme, but as a title, it's fine.
Yeah, and you say this at other times, like using that kind of cliche phrase doesn't necessarily feel special or unique with the story. So it does pay to think that through a little bit. Yeah. But yeah, it's not a problematic title. It's just one where maybe there's an opportunity to elevate.
I guess in this case, the cliche phrase of All in God's Plan is presented ironically, like the fact that it is perhaps a righteous phrase that is used in a way that is not so righteous.
I suggest it often is, but anyway, that's a conversation for another time.
Okay, let's get into the story and the opening line, "You're not my mum." And Marianna, in your message, you indicated starting off with maybe some assumptions of adoption coming through. And actually, the first time I read this story, my first assumption was it was like a stepmom situation.
Yeah,
because
me
that's
too.
A common way you would hear that, or maybe not "you're not my mum," but "you're not my real mum" kind of thing.
And yeah, that would be a common experience for step parents to have a child sort of act out at that age and say, well, you can't tell me what to do.
Yeah.
And more acting out of this kind of teen rebellion rather than what we come to learn in this story. So, Marianna mentioned that in her message, and I feel like she successfully delivered that twist. Yeah. Which is good. We often say it's hard to pull off a twist in a 500-word story, and she did. So that's a big tick there.
And maybe talking high level as we go through, I think this is a well-constructed story. We start off with a interjection into a very calm moment, which is our protagonist just planting flowers in the garden and slowly escalating and adding more detail and adding more urgency, I guess, right up until the end where she's carted away in handcuffs, basically. So I think just as a high-level comment, generally I think that's handled quite well. We do get that story progression. We have a beginning, we move into our middle, we have an ending, and it's not a vignette, it's a complete story.
That's true. I mean, we do spend a fair bit of time inside this character's head, which I said this, I believe, in our long list episode. I do actually think it's quite appropriate to spend some time in the head of a flawed protagonist.
Yeah.
I do think you need to see their thought process to really appreciate what they're doing and why. And I did feel in this case that I understood the protagonist.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go so far as to say, I resonated with her or could appreciate what she was doing.
I mean, who would want to steal a child?
That's a really interesting question to ask at this time in 2026 with certain files flying here, there and everywhere. I suggest there are a few people who would like to steal a child. But anyway, all that aside, I did feel like it made sense to me. I could follow her thinking, even though obviously it's deeply flawed thinking. And I think that was a real strong suit here because I think that's crucial,
And also good use of first person, because one of the things that works here is the contrast between the main character who's expressing her own thoughts in the first person never really gives up the idea that she's acting righteously. And for the good. And what we see are details that seep in that prove that that's actually not the case.
I think another thing that Marianna's doing well here is giving us the thoughts, but then having the character say different things. And I think that can be really satisfying as a reading experience as well. When,
having the thoughts conflict with the action that's taking place.
Yeah, so there's conflict already inherent in that. And then from there, there's conflict interpersonally between the characters as well.
Yeah. I guess if I could offer a criticism on that.
I mean, that is what you're here for, so go on.
Thank you. Thank you for your permission. Permission to criticize.
Granted.
Although there is that conflict inherent in the scene, we don't really get much in terms of agency from our protagonist. Our protagonist the whole time is working in the garden and maintaining her innocence up until she gets carted away. And there isn't really much that she has any control over. I guess she is trying to change opinions, or she's trying to state her opinion. But what unfolds is really without her input.
Yeah.
She could be saying anything in that situation and nothing would really change.
Yeah, she's kind of almost just sort of forget about it, it's fine. And, the daughter is escalating there, or the not daughter is escalating, but the main character is quite emotionally static throughout the story. We don't really get that stress coming through. I mean, not to be unfair, because she does she starts swearing and, sort of thinking a little bit darker thoughts like ungrateful little shit and whatnot. But the implications here are huge, and I'm not sure that her reaction maybe fits the stakes here. And, she may not be fully aware of the stakes. She's clearly not operating from a place of logic. So it's safe to say she might not fully understand what's going on. However, the one thing that for 14 years you've been trying to avoid coming to the surface has come to the surface, and you're kind of no, that's not true. You're my daughter, and, just kind of arguing instead of melting down, which you imagine might be the case.
Yeah, and she might be forced to confront those lies and this cognitive dissonance that's been in her head for the last 14 years.
And how does she unravel in that moment?
Yeah.
And what is she doing? Because she's trying to speak, but the daughter interjects, and she tries to say something, but the daughter interrupts. And I think, what's she doing? How is she panicking? Is she just still calmly planning her rose? We do have this moment where she grabs her daughter's hand and tries to yank her, and the daughter pulls away. But I don't know. I guess I wasn't feeling that sense of urgency that maybe should have been there.
But what does come through is what Marianna mentioned in her message, is that people in this situation, her experience, and this is based on some level of real life experience, is that people who do wrong things often don't see themselves as being bad people. They see their actions as morally justifiable and good in various ways.
Ordained by God.
Yeah. And look, another thing I want to point to was the daughter in this relationship, who I think is an interesting character and I feel could have been developed a little bit more, because we don't get her perspective, but we see that she's been shown this image and it looks annoyingly like herself from the main character's perspective, which has prompted her to realize that she had been kidnapped many years ago. But I wonder if her reaction could have been a bit more nuanced, because this is someone who presumably has known no other mother. And we're in this situation where she's already phoned the police and she's basically waiting for the police to come.
On the basis of a computer-generated image.
But I feel like in reality, if I imagine a person in that position, they may feel deeply conflicted because they have
They've got
someone
questions. They've got some
appears-
questions, like not just answers.
Yeah, her mother, in quotes, you would expect have been like a loving, caring mother that had raised her, who she would feel a strong attachment for, more so than her unknown parents. And I would expect her to feel quite conflicted about that. And maybe there would be a moment where she would not phone the police, but work through that conflict with her mother and kind of come to these realizations. And we don't get that conflict. We don't get her conflict. And I think that might be something that is missing from this story.
Yeah, I mean, we get this sort of back and forth between them.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's not sort of new information added in that back and forth. It's kind of like, you're not my mum. Yes, I am.
Yeah.
No, you're not. And where's the kind of reveal of the harsh truth that proves it? Like, we've got this picture, this missing photo. Where's the discovery of an old photo of your own hidden away somewhere? Or where's the question over why you never had a birth certificate? Or, you know, these things that might be big, big clues of what's really going on.
Yeah.
Maybe more convincing than a missing poster with a girl on it that just happens to look a lot like you.
There are some other details definitely that could have been worked in to emphasize that. But I think what Marianna's done very well here is kept it to a scene.
Yeah.
Because when we start talking about all these other elements and you know, the finding out as opposed to like the coming to terms with, we're talking about different scenes and different settings, and it is hard to like condense all that down. So she has done well to fit that all into a scene. But yeah, there is some opportunity, I think, to explore the daughter side of things in a more nuanced way, or maybe one that adds to the conflict and adds to the drama of the scene.
We're talking about these big themes, and I think that that's how this story is. Like, it presents well as a story, and so it becomes about like the bigger thoughts and the deeper thoughts about what this story represents and how it connects emotionally. But, you know, on a practical level, I did feel that this story needed to be set up a little bit more at the outset, and maybe that's a little bit of what's missing. So we've got "You're not my mum." There it is, the 4 words I never wanted to hear. Now, I know that it's Marianna's intention here to set up that twist, right?
Yep.
And to have us think it's a stepmum or adopted mum or similar. And one thing that's a little bit of a bugbear for me in the opening of a story is a hanging line of dialogue without someone to speak it. And so we've got this "You're not my mum." Now, that's a dramatic thing to say. We know it's a child. Well, I mean, we assume it's a child, right? We get that's the immediate image that comes to mind. We don't know it's a 14-year-old girl. And we don't know who she's saying it to and what their deal is. And so we've just got these words spoken in a black void, basically. And we need more than that. We do learn fairly soon that the mother character is trying to plant a rose. So we get that it's in a garden. We don't really get any sensory details of that garden. We get the pricking of the thorn, but we sort of aren't dropped into a visual scene there. We're just given there's a rose. And look, that's okay because we're focused on the action that's happening in that garden. But I suggest, you know, wouldn't hurt to get just a little bit more of where we are and what that represents. Because I know that it was intentional to have this pricking of the thorn and that sort of stuff and to work with that as a theme. So I think you could expand on that a little bit. But I guess top line comment just being we probably needed a little bit more there, and perhaps even a little bit more before the conflict begins.
Yeah.
Because we're dropped right into the middle of it, meaning we don't really get the beginning of this story. We're sort of dropped right into the middle. And it's great to drop into the middle of action, but it's not necessarily great to drop into the middle of a story, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, like establishing that relationship before it breaks down a little bit, which is tough because, as you say, we want this one scene.
Yeah, look, it is challenging in the constraints here, and that's the thing. I think Marianna's done a great job to build the story as she has in the scene. But yeah, inevitably there are these elements that are missing.
I think the difficulty becomes, you know, if we talk about beginning, middle and end and all that sort of stuff, we have talked about this in a couple of Daredevils already this round, but we have a story where there's a back and forth, but there's not a cause and effect. The cause has happened already. You know, she's found, and the effect even has happened already. Lucille's friends have found this missing poster. They presented it to her. She's felt confident enough in that to decide this is not her real mother. We don't get an insight into any of that action. And then it's just a back and forth of, you're not my mum, yes I am, and a bit of backstory. Whereas what we probably needed to get was something happens which causes something else to happen, and that causes a reaction, action, reaction to build towards the climax of this story. And the climax is that she's arrested, but even the police have already been called as well. So there's no catalyst sort of revealed in this story to bring us to that point. It's already happened basically, and we're just watching it unfold. And I think that's a challenge that we've seen a couple of times in these stories, and something that bears repeating. You really need for the story, for a plot to progress, for the action and reaction to really build towards that climax.
I guess what we're not calling out, and as I read through this story, is the prose, because on a sentence level, as I'm reading through it, I don't really have major concerns about that.
Yeah, no, at a sentence level, I think it's working. I think maybe the challenge for this story is that what we're presented with here works in itself as a package, but because it's a 500-word piece of fiction, we haven't been able to connect with the characters in maybe the way that we needed to for this story. But we don't get to see any of that 14 years of bonding and relationship building where you think this person is your mother. Like, that's huge.
Yeah.
So we don't get any insight into that. And then we also don't get the heartbreak that would go with that, which is huge. Like, I can't imagine, right? And not just heartbreak of like, you're not my real mum when I thought you were, but you stole me? Holy shit, what's wrong with you? And what does this mean? And my whole life's a lie. Like, for a 16-year-old to be confronted with that would be absolutely shattering. And I don't really feel like we get that shattering. We get, well, I called the police.
Yeah.
So now you're getting arrested and I'm never going to think of you again. Like, really? You're not going to think about this constantly every day for the rest of your life? Oh my God, like real trauma. So I feel like maybe that's where we were lacking, the emotional aspect of this. We've got the drama of it, and I think that ticks the boxes, but we don't have the real human emotion on both sides that would accompany this kind of epic scenario.
Yeah, look, I do like, as we move through the story, when I rescued Lucille, the web wasn't for children. Now anyone can access the entangled lies forever swirling in the cloud. Again, reinforcing this idea, and this is another one I think we've mentioned on a past episode, that the Team Ed stories leaned heavily into character as opposed to the Team Amanda stories. And this one is that character study, it is that understanding this character and what motivates her. And this is another moment of cognitive dissonance where the character is calling things lies that are actually the truth and giving us a bit of an insight into her thinking. But as we then go to the ending, and I think in my notes and also other judges' notes here, we have the ending that comes very abruptly of the two officers cuffing her and arresting her. And that last line of Casey Allenby, you're under arrest for the abduction of Sally Montgomery, is probably important exposition on one level, as in it kind of solidifies what's happening and calling back that twist. I think by that point in time, we do get it. We do get what's happened. So it's probably not necessary. I think what you want to do is focus on the relationship between the two people here. And the police coming in and taking her away is not really part of the story that you're trying to tell here. And that gives you a little bit more time back to then focus in on that relationship a bit more.
Yeah. And I think you need to. I think for this to really feel resonant as something that's happened, real, we do need more of that emotion and that heartbreak and that absolutely earth-shattering loss of sense of self that would come. And that's a big ask. Like, that's a lot to be able to convey such huge emotion. But, I think that's what we work towards. And I think emotional resonance is always a strong goal to have because I think that's how we connect to story. Like, a story can be very clever, but how we connect is through real human emotion and resonating with other people's experience and having empathy for other people's experience. And while I do have some empathy for this flawed protagonist, it doesn't get over the line for me. I sort of needed a little bit more realness for this to come off as a real story. But, it's a very strong concept, very interesting, and engaging story. So in that regard, I think it did exactly what it set out to do. I guess what I would have liked to have seen and what maybe would have landed it on the long list is more attention to that emotional side of things.
Yeah, look, I agree. You've got a very strong premise here. Obviously, that's a compelling situation. And just to emphasize that you do have two characters here, two characters that are both quite complex. And I think one character is being focused on here, but there's an opportunity to explore two characters and also their relationship and how this event has impacted their relationship. When we talk about single effect and emotional payloads at the end of the story, that's really where you want to focus your effort of how you can enhance that. And I think there's definitely a lot to explore there. And your strong points in this story, there are many. The structure is great. The prose is great. But from an emotional perspective, there's a little bit more to do there to really kind of sell the story. Yeah, so thank you, Marianna. I hope that has shed a little bit of light onto our thinking there, a lot working in your favor and maybe some points of focus for next time around. So we hope you will join us again.
I mean, we've jumped around a bit there, haven't we? We've sort of gone here, there and everywhere with our feedback. So hopefully you're able to organise those thoughts in your own mind and take from them what you will, what's useful to you. But yeah, thank you so much for jumping into this experience. I hope it was a little bit enjoyable. Do you think it ever is? I don't know. Question.
I don't know. As I've said before, I'm not sure if it's something that I could do.
Yeah.
You know, we always appreciate our daredevils for going through the pain on everyone's behalf. They're a bit like a sacrificial lamb.
Yeah. Like a cautionary tale.
Yeah, maybe that's the analogy.
And we look forward to reading your next story, which I will in fact be meeting with you about because you've gone with the coaching option for the next round, something a bit more private, which is probably a smart idea, let's be real, and lick your wounds. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that and to seeing what you deliver next and how that compares and whether any of our advice was in fact useful.
And you can hold Amanda accountable for all of the shit that she said in this episode. So there's that.
Absolutely.
So thank you. And that brings the January round to its conclusion.
Yeah. Our first ever write-off, our
first
little
ever
baby.
Write-off. What an experience. That was a lot of fun. And I'm looking forward to April.
Yeah,
we've got
me
a fun
too.
theme for April.
We do.
I'm super psyched for that one.
Yes, I'm excited too. I mean, this January round has been chaos for us behind the scenes. Like the actual judging of this comp went quite smoothly and quite quickly. But we've had so much other stuff going on.
Yeah.
We've been recording smut. We've been preparing, our collection of smutty stories. We've been doing all the regular stuff that we do for this competition. Many, many things therein.
Yeah.
Busy time for us. But hopefully we're starting to see the light at the end of that tunnel.
And we look forward to seeing everyone in April. And if you don't have a ticket, what's wrong with you? Go to the website, sign up.
Yeah.
And we're looking forward to April. It's going to be lots of fun theme, fun prompts. It's going to be amazing. Don't miss out.
You're so convincing right now. I love it.
If for no one else, do it for yourself. You don't want to do anything you're going to regret for the rest of your life. And if you miss out on the April Not Quite Right prize, you're going to regret it till the day you die. So that was the hard sell for you. But we'll see you all back very soon for the April round. But until then, right on.
Right on.
We hope you enjoyed this special Daredevil episode of Not Quite Right. If you have thoughts on this story, follow us on social media and join the conversation. And if you'd like to participate in the next round of the competition, head over to our website at notquiteright.com. That's WRITE.
Something doesn't seem